My name is Karen Field Bolek. I'm an independent spiritual teacher, and this is my course, A Spiritual Path to True Love. Welcome. I'm excited to be launching this course on YouTube because this is the spiritual path I've been on all my life, and I have a lot of really interesting things to share with you. In this introductory video, I want to give you a general overview of the course, explain why it's important, and then address the famous law of attraction head on. But let me start by telling you a little bit about myself, how I came to be a spiritual teacher, and why I'm teaching this particular course. I grew up in the Chicago area. I've lived in or near Chicago almost all my life. And like many of you, as a child, I occasionally had psychic perceptions. A couple of different times, I saw visions. I met people I felt sure I had known before. I had feelings about what would happen next that turned out to be prescient. Of course, these are all the kinds of things that adults here in America, at least, teach us to dismiss. At age 10, though, I had a very vivid past life memory. At that age, I had never heard of past lives, and I didn't know what the word reincarnation meant. But this memory was so vivid that I really couldn't dismiss it. At age 11, I had a near-death-like experience. I wasn't clinically dead, but I was comatose in critical condition for about 5 days after my family was in a car accident, and I had a brain concussion. During that time, I met my guardian angel and several spirit guides. My guardian angel sat me down and spoke to me in English. He asked me if I wanted to go back to my life, and I said no. So he proceeded to tell me about things that would happen in my life and things that could happen in my life if I went back. Then he asked me again if I wanted to return to my life, and again I said no. Next, I saw several spirit guides who looked like grown-ups file into the back of the room and sit down, as if they were an audience watching me. They began to confer telepathically to try to come up with ideas to help my guardian angel convince me to agree to go back to my life. Meanwhile, my guardian angel continued to inform me of things that would happen, things that could happen, and the help they would send me if I returned to my life. Still, I kept saying no. I'd had some pretty harsh experiences as a child, and I just really didn't want to return to it. But these beings didn't like my answer. Finally, in a last-ditch effort, my guardian angel told me that my life was important and that towards the end of my life, I could potentially help a lot of people. He was essentially appealing to my egotism, my spiritual ambition, the idea that I could help so many people, with the idea that I could perhaps become great. So that was my Achilles heel, and I said, okay. My guardian angel offered me some parting advice, and then I opened my eyes and found myself in the hospital bed with some brain damage and long-term partial amnesia. Now, you might wonder, was that near-death experience just a dream? I don't see how it could be because ever since then, my guardian angel still talks to me sometimes. Not when I'm asleep, dreaming, but in the daytime, when I'm wide awake. I always recognize his very distinctive and calming voice, and he always gives me helpful instructions or guidance, always related to my spiritual path of love. Now, for all you doubters, there is a historical precedent for this sort of thing. You may recall that Socrates talked about his daemon. That was the voice in his mind that gave him instructions and that he always trusted. Now, as a philosopher and a teacher, Socrates questioned just about everyone. Yet, he never questioned his daemon, and he always obeyed it. He thought of his daemon as the voice of God or the gods. Incidentally, for those of you who are already spiritually attuned, there is a practical book that you can read to help you get in touch with your spiritual guides. The book is called True Purpose, and the author is Tim Kelly. Now, some of you may want to start working through that book, but for most of you, There's no reason to look at that book right now. Anyway, back to my story. After my hospitalization at age 11, I returned to school and continued trying to grow up. Around ages 12 and 13, I thought about my Methodist church upbringing and not yet remembering most of my near death like experience, I decided that I was an agnostic. So, a lot of my thinking during my teens as I developed was shaped by trying to make sense of the world through reason, not religion. Gradually, I started getting more and more flashbacks to an early trauma, and that was too hard for me to overcome on my own. By age 19, I concluded that my parents would be happier if I just killed myself, and that I couldn't see a way to reach my goals in life anyway. Suicide seemed logical. But then I decided to say a prayer to God, just in case He existed. After praying, I felt some kind of a shift inside myself. Within a couple of weeks, I had an unusual conversation that led me to a therapist. I got help in moving away from my parents, got a job in an apartment, and these changes helped me, allowed me really to finish growing up. Towards the end of my therapy, when I was in my 20s, I got involved with a very interesting spiritual group called Conscious Development of Body, Mind, and Soul. The woman representing the group was Janine Schneider. There, I started my spiritual development in a new way, learned about my spiritual path of love, and was placed in a class of future spiritual teachers. Now, Janine advised all of us from the start to be open to the information that she was giving, of course, but always to be a skeptic. Not a cynic, a skeptic. Taking that advice to heart, I felt torn between what I learned there and my basic skepticism, along with plenty of self doubt. I also felt it was important to make anything that I teach be from my own depth of understanding and not just from what I've been told is true. So I put the idea of spiritual teaching on hold and moved on to complete my education and find a husband. Around that same time in my life, I attended another group event and learned about the famous law of attraction. They taught me how to make and use what people now call a dream board to attract my ideal partner. So I went home and tried it. It took me about 6 or 8 weeks, and I started going out with my then future husband. A couple of years later, we got married. Naturally, I was excited about the law of attraction and recommended the technique to friends and coworkers. But I soon discovered it did not work the same for everyone. I remember one friend, and I'll call her Pamela, who tried it. Almost right away, she attracted what seemed like the man of her dreams, and she was elated. Unfortunately, this man soon turned from passionate and romantic to cold, rejecting, and insulting. It was a horrible experience for Pamela. I felt bad, and I wondered why the law of attraction seemed to work for me and not her. That's when I started searching for a deeper understanding of the law of attraction. Recently, I taught the law of attraction technique to one of my spiritual students. I'll call her Liz. And Liz began using it as a journey of self-discovery. She focused on the qualities she wanted in a partner, created her dream board, followed the technique, and started attracting new men. Each of these men seemed to have most of the qualities that she had put on her dream board that she was looking for, but yet the relationships weren't ideal, and each time they didn't work out. As she told me about each new dating experience, I noticed that Liz harbored some very negative attitudes about men, reflecting her early experiences in life, and those negatives were showing up in the men that she was attracting. So I started coaching her in looking at each of her past and current relationships in the spirit of love and opening her heart to the men's point of view, forgiving and accepting each man for being who he was at the time. The idea was to turn her harsh judgments into acceptance and a deeper understanding of the men's positive intentions. Since then, with my coaching and her own continuous spiritual development, Liz has grown tremendously. As she's embraced spiritual development in line with her own childhood religious traditions, she keeps flourishing. She's become happier and much more excited about life, and she attracts better quality relationships all the time. For her, searching for true love through spiritual growth means expanding her ability to love in the process of preparing for the love she dreams of. So, in developing this course, I've drawn on my general spiritual learnings, my liberal arts education, my common sense, and what I've learned over the years specifically about the law of attraction. I love teaching this subject because for me, giving and receiving love, especially understanding human nature more and more deeply, and then sharing what I've learned, is what makes my life worth living. It's why I decided to live. A Spiritual Path to True Love is a wide-ranging course that will help you become a more loving person in a realistic sense with an extremely expanded awareness. The general strategy is that the more loving you become as a person, and the more goodness you become aware of in yourself, in others, and in life, the more you'll start to attract new people who resonate with your new, higher level of awareness, greater capacity to love, and greater character development. Through these lessons, you will learn step by step how to build the knowledge, skills, and attitudes you need to get ready to not only find the higher love that you've always wanted, but maintain it. Whether it's with your current partner who's also growing quickly, or with a new one. Because the truth is that even if you're with the partner of your dreams, without a spiritual growth process in place, either through your intuitive inner guidance or a structure, something like this course, you may not be ready to succeed with that person over time. Now, you may be thinking, oh, I'm ready. I just haven't found the right person yet. But I have to question that, and let me do so with an analogy. You know, they say that a lot of lottery jackpot winners across the United States end up losing their money or being miserable because their money changes their relationships. Did you ever wonder why that so often happens? I believe it's because they weren't ready to be rich, stay rich, and be comfortable as a rich person. Now, I am not a finance expert, and I cannot teach you how to get rich quick. But my common sense tells me that there are at least 3 things that rich people need in order to stay rich and be happy as a rich person. The first one is a strong work ethic. The second one is strong people skills. And the third is a balanced and reasonably mature personality. In terms of work ethic, of course, they need to learn money management. If you want to control your own financial destiny, you have to be willing to learn how to spend, save, budget, invest, and even donate wisely. Otherwise, you could mismanage your money away. You also have to pay attention and keep learning. Learn about your investments and keep an eye on them. Learn about other investment opportunities that may be available to you. Watch your bank. Keep an eye on the economy and the government as far as it may affect the economy. And also, especially, keep an eye on the people who also have access to your money. So there's a lot of ongoing learning involved. The second thing is strong people skills. For example, you need to have pretty strong boundaries, or family and friends, neighbors, and perfect strangers may beg and borrow your money away from you. You also have to have a pretty good understanding of human nature and be a fairly good judge of character. Otherwise, some very attractive, very intelligent people may come along and swindle you out of every last dollar. Think Bernie Madoff. You also need negotiating skills. Now, negotiating skills may be part of money management, but they're also part of people skills. Because although you need to know how to buy and sell and trade fairly, you also need to know that the people you're dealing with are playing fair to you. And third, you need fairly balanced, mature personality. Now, there are several ways of being out of balance, but some of the ways of being out of balance that can affect your ability to hold on to your money might be excess passion. You might be passionate about saving the world or about some altruistic cause that you want to save a group of people. Helping others is a good thing, and it's a good thing to do with your money in balance. But if you give away all your wealth, you're obviously not comfortable being a rich person. If you're at the end of your life and you no longer need money, that's fine. It's fine to give away to a cause you believe in if that's what you want to do with your money, but if you still need money and you're giving it all away because maybe you feel guilty for having more than others, then it shows that you value others way more than you value yourself. Another way of being out of balance would be to be excessively greedy. Excessively greedy people value themselves way more than they value others. Greedy people have a sense of entitlement. They hoard money and possessions. If you're greedy, money is your best friend. You are untrusting of people, possibly paranoid that they're all going to try to get your money away from you. You may be delusional about how important you are to the universe because of all the money that you have. And in that way, you become alienated from the rest of humanity. Greed often involves being power hungry and controlling. If you use your money to manipulate others, such as family members, to do what you want them to do, this can lead your family members to resent and hate you, which can lead to stealing, divorce, murder. You'll have relatives who are counting the days until you die so that they can finally get their inheritance from you because maybe they feel that's all they're ever going to get from you. Greed can keep you rich, but your happiness in relationships will be very limited. Another way of being out of balance is to be excessively needy. Needy people are those who need to prove their value to themselves and others. They may spend all their money buying more and more clothes, cars, homes, trips, trying to fill their bottomless pit of emotional need for validation. Needy people with money may share their money and possessions with friends and family, rather than hoarding and being overly suspicious of everyone, because needy people deeply want to be valued and loved by others. Unfortunately, these people sometimes end up not just broke, but deep in debt when their sky-high dreams of popularity surpass their money management skills. Another problem that is a question of balance in a way is immaturity. It's insufficient personal growth. If you're immature with money, you may just be inept with money, relying on others because you're afraid you can't learn how to handle money. And you leave yourself open to being taken advantage of by people who do know how to handle your money. You may be reckless. You may imagine yourself to be like Superman, that you just can't fail, you can't lose. You may become reckless in business dealings or in gambling because you believe you can't lose. Or you may not take money seriously. Like a kid, everything seems to be a joke. You may pretend that money doesn't matter, since you know you can always get more from whatever your source is. Now, these are just a few imbalances and immaturities that can impair your ability to stay rich and be happy as a rich person once you have the money. And if you think about it, you can see that some rich people suffer from multiple conditions, like alternating between feeling needy and feeling greedy. When people win the lottery jackpot, though, it always seems like they're having great good luck. Yet, if they aren't prepared to be rich, they're actually about to receive a tough spiritual challenge. Similarly, If you haven't yet met your ideal love partner, it may be because you're not ready to sustain the quality of love you dream of. Because no matter how glorious a new love relationship might be at first, you still need the strength of character and level of awareness to maintain a high quality of love over time. Now, unless you marry into it, true love and financial wealth are obtained in different ways. But interestingly, finding and maintaining true love requires some of the same qualities of character that you need to be successfully rich. In love, you need relationship know-how and a strong work ethic to keep doing the work of relationships, such as paying attention to each other, continually learning about yourself and your partner within your relationship, and practicing positive ways of working through differences. In people skills, you need strong boundaries so that you can keep others, whether it's children or in-laws or anyone else, from creating discord between the two of you. You also need to be a good enough judge of character to know when to trust and when to challenge each other as you go. And you need a balanced personality and some baseline maturity so you don't go trying to save your partner from whatever you think your partner needs to be saved from, or so you don't act needy and beg your partner to fill your bottomless pit of need to validate your worth. A balanced personality means you know your value and your partner's value. So you don't feel too guilty about being loved to enjoy it. And so you don't feel too greedy and entitled to be truly fair and loving to your partner. It means you have the maturity to take your love seriously and not kid yourself about how you really feel or how much it really means to you. Despite these realities, though, we love to dream about winning the lottery or finding a perfect love as if that would answer all our problems and we could then live a life of ease, happily ever after. Personally, I know lotteries are fun for a lot of people. On the other hand, although again, I'm not a finance advisor, I don't think lottery tickets are actually the best investment for your money. Similarly, I don't think it's usually wise to try to quickly manifest your dream lover, at least not without guidance, because it could blow up in your face. You or your true love may not be ready to sustain that relationship even if you found each other today. Many people aren't, even some couples who are happily married at the moment. Just as many people aren't ready to stay happily rich, even if they have a lot of money at the moment. Without ongoing spiritual development, whether intuitive or through a structured path, your promising relationship could fall apart. That's why this course is designed to lead you on a steady path of spiritual growth. And by spiritual growth, I'm including basic character development along with expanded awareness. Spiritual paths are designed to help people elevate their personality to merge with their higher self. Any spiritual path, while seemingly slow and steady, is structured to help people evolve more quickly. Whether it's the religious path of a Catholic nun, a Buddhist monk, a devotee of a guru, a practitioner of tantric yoga, or simply a learner in a spiritual course or group. Of course, any structured spiritual path can and will be misunderstood and corrupted by some. This includes spiritually minded people trying to follow the path who aren't really ready for the challenges it entails. And also people who think spirituality is nonsense and seek to use organizations to gain power over believers for their own selfish ends. The real issue concerns human nature, not spirituality. To understand this, think of schools. Throughout elementary school, high school, trade school, college, or university, you can use your courses to truly grow through completing assignments, overcoming obstacles, and doing your best. You can also build courage and self-acceptance by walking into class every day with a determined attitude despite knowing you may not be the best in the class. Or you can build character by rejecting your teachers' and parents' pressure to get straight A's and instead follow your inner guidance and reserve your energy for the courses that truly interest you the most. Conversely, if you have a perfect memory and find your schoolwork easy, you may not build a lot of character at school, even if you get straight A's. Your grades in school are not a reflection of your character. It's the attitudes you build in response to the challenges you face in and out of school that strengthen or undermine your character. But if you're not concerned with character development, you can corrupt the process by trying to get top grades without really learning. For example, you could plagiarize papers, cheat on tests, sleep with some professor to get good grades. You could just slide by and get C's everywhere. These things can build cunning, but they fail to build character. In some school districts, teachers and administrators cheat on inflating test scores of their students. Some of the most corrupt and cunning teachers use their positions to molest their students. This is a problem schools have in common with religious organizations. As a student, you can gain admittance to a top university not because you work hard as a student, but because your parents donate big money to the school. And you can use your good grades to try to convince others in a mean-spirited way that you're smarter and better than they are. Or you can use your degree from some top university to try to summarily convince people that you're right about a particular issue instead of discussing the issue fairly. Now, critics of public and private school systems abound, and I'm one of them. But despite all the shortcomings of schools, and despite the corruptibility of the educational system, it's still overwhelmingly good to have schools available for all. Just ask Malala. Similarly, despite the many corruptions in religious and spiritual organizations, spiritual paths still benefit those who are ready to grow and build character through the structured practices. This course is not based on a particular religion, but it contains spiritual elements taught in various religions. In fact, compassionate love is the centerpiece of many religions, and compassion is an important aspect of being in love. By following this course, you can potentially elevate your personality enough to find true love by learning the lessons and accepting the challenges I offer. Overall, this course can help you understand much more about yourself and others, human nature, societies, ethics, life itself, and all aspects of love. And on the practical side, you can gain the ability to do things like give love more effectively, be more truthful with yourself, develop your courage, and engage in mystical thinking or practices, just as people like Socrates did with his daemon, as Carl Jung did with his mystical brand of psychology, and as Albert Einstein did with his non-logical but brilliant intuitions in physics. This course will also cover the sacred nature of attraction. You'll see how even the lowest of attractions exists to benefit your spiritual growth, how failed relationships can serve positive purposes, and how the law of attraction really works to prepare you for a higher love, and then when you're ready, deliver it to you. So let's talk about the law of attraction. In short, the law of attraction is suggested by the biblical quote in the book of Matthew, "Ask and you shall receive." It's more subtle than that, but that's the essence of it. This law works not only when you create a dream board, but all the time, everywhere. The law of attraction has been drawing people and experiences to you all your life, always for the same sole purpose, and that is to present you with the specific growth challenges you most need next in your spiritual evolution to lead you to the very things you've deeply asked for, the things you desire in the highest part of yourself. Think of the law of gravity. When you jump up, you don't have to invoke the law of gravity to be sure you come back down to earth. Similarly, the law of attraction is a law. It works always and everywhere to attract to you whatever and whomever will best lead you to your next spiritual growth steps. For example, if you look back on your own life, maybe you've attracted one love relationship after another where there's some sort of a theme. Maybe you feel you've been taken for granted, used, lied to, neglected, abused, misunderstood, or disrespected for your authority. In any case, the law of attraction keeps leading you there so that you can clearly identify the issues and then make appropriate changes. You may need to learn to stand up for yourself better and also to do so respectfully and not hatefully. You may need to learn how to find your power in the relationship and then figure out how to leverage it, not for revenge, but in the spirit of fairness. You may need to learn how to set clearer boundaries, not in conflict mode, but firmly with confidence and respect. Whether this skill building changes your relationship for the better or ends it, you are acquiring love-related skills that you can take with you. All the things you experience, including obstacles, are here to help you grow spiritually, one step at a time, whether in love, in money, or in any other area of life, with the goal of leading you to your heart's desires. In the area of love, as soon as you're ready for it, the law of attraction will automatically bring you together with your true love. So that's what this course is about. In lesson number 1, I'll discuss different ways of looking at love so that you can start making sense of your past relationships in a more balanced and a more loving way. The lessons in this course will go up on YouTube twice a month, near the 1st and the 15th. You'll get the most out of them if you watch them in order. But this course is free for you to use, evaluate, and manage in whatever ways you see fit. Thanks for listening, and I hope you'll join me for lesson number 1. Bye for now.